So what do you think about the recent changes that we have seen, maybe like in last 10, 15 years, the rise of social media and more globalization, a lot of languages are shrinking. What does that mean to, how we operate as a society, how cultures are formed? Do you think by end of this century, yes, the climate is not going to be same as we have now, but there's a likelihood that we may have a population collapse as well. We as humans, now that we see, a lot of languages, again, they're shrinking, and rise of AI as well. What sort of world do you think that we'll be living in by end of this century?
Well, we are living through one of the great kind of species extinction collapses in history, right? There's been a few of them. And when they happen, when you have mass numbers of species go extinct, it does change, right? So our biodiversity is being reduced, and that's going to affect us. The rise of social media and AI is really interesting because there's an anthropologist named Jack Goody who came up with something called the literacy hypothesis, and his argument was when you start to write down things, then you change the way humans organize knowledge and store knowledge, as you change human cognition. If you look at the technologies over the years that have brought about fundamental changes to society or to human cognition, they've been pretty profound, and they haven't looked all that profound at the beginning. You see in the Andes, those knots, the way they communicate by knots. In the kind of Mesopotamia, the little cuneiform clay writing. These things may not have seemed so revolutionary at the time, but they gave rise to empires. Without writing, without record keeping, it's not possible to maintain states. So it was a fundamental, this is why, 3,000 years ago, you start to have radical changes in governance. AI, social media, could be exactly that. We could be looking at something that won't change us physiologically, because we're not going to adapt that quickly. Evolution doesn't operate at that pace. But you could well see that our societies will just radically change. And I think if we follow Jack Goody's argument, our cognition might change. I mean, I think about my memory when I was in my 20s and 30s, pre-cell phone, pre-using the internet. My memory was very good. I could remember things, long lists of things. I'd write them down, but I also could retain. I never forgot a person's birthday. Now, I don't invest any energy in remembering people's birthdays at all. I put it into my calendar, into my contacts list. I say, that's their birthday. And I get a little message, computer pops up and says, it's so-and-so's birthday coming up tomorrow. I don't need to remember it. And so is my brain no longer capable of remembering those birthdays? Or is that, again, one of those evolutionary trade-offs that I stop putting the energy into retaining memories and birthdays because I don't need it? Because now I've got an external brain that provides me with a lot of information. I have a phone that gives me my calendar events, so I knew you were coming today, not only because we corresponded, but also because in my calendar, little thing popped up and said, don't forget, you've got this interesting podcast to participate in tonight. That may be changing the way humans store and organize knowledge. Certainly, our propensity to believe stuff on the basis of really not credible evidence seems to be pretty boundless, right? If COVID taught us anything, is that human beings will believe just about any bit of nonsense that is thrown at them. If it comes in TikTok, if it comes to the fancy dance, then the number of my students and my colleagues that I had to kind of step back and say, no, that's not what COVID is. That's not what masks do. That's not what vaccines do, because misinformation was flying fast and furious. We see reports about election interference. We see reports about, people have always voted against their own interests, right? As a class, that's just what humans do. But it's bizarrely frequent now. Some of the people who run for office today, you think they would have been laughed out of the room even just 20 years ago. But because of social media, because of AI, because of the filter bubbles that we live in, we don't even get exposed to information that might challenge, well, actually we do get exposed to information that challenges our a priori beliefs, but the way humans operate is if it doesn't correspond with what I want to believe, then I can dismiss it. I can say it's a conspiracy theory, I can say it's nonsense, I can say it's not credible. And you know, this is one of the things that we in Aga Khan University and the Faculty of Arts and Sciences, we are trying so hard, not just to teach our students skills that they can use in a job, but to give them those kind of critical evaluation skills so that when I'm long dead, my students, the graduates of this program, will be able to hear a politician and say, that doesn't pass the smell test. And that's a tough one. Social media is not helping us on that.